I'm sorry. What's your name again?
Chris from New York.
Chris from New York. What's on your mind?
Well, I appreciate you taking my call.
Hey, Chris, you got to back
fan
off.
of the show.
Can you back off your phone a little if you're on like a headphone set or something? It's a little loud.
Oh, okay. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, big fan of the show. Appreciate you guys taking my call. I just wanted to ask you guys a question here because I got a real close friend of mine who's been going down a QAnon rabbit hole, and I don't really know how to like talk to him about it or like try to pull him out of it, you know. I've known this guy like 12, 13 years. We met, we were both very involved in the church when we were younger.
There you go.
A few weeks ago, I was hanging out with him, and he was yeah, seriously. But a few weeks ago, I was hanging out with him. He was telling me, he's like, I watched this movie, The Sound of Freedom, and blah, blah, blah. I learned all about how they do the child trafficking and stuff. And, you know, I just tried to, like, tell him, like, oh, you know, that movie's a bunch of bullshit, and, like, that guy that the movie's about is under investigation for, like, all this stuff. And
Yep.
He's just like convinced like that's all deep state shit, you know. And then like, go ahead.
Has something happened in his life recently that precipitated this? Did he lose a job, divorce?
No. Well, I guess he and his lady are having some troubles, and they have a kid, so I don't know if that's got something to do with it, but I don't know. He works in an auto shop, so he's like hanging around, you know, a lot of you know, other car guys. Who knows what they talk about all day. You know, I was in there a few weeks ago to get something fixed, and they had like this sticker put up that was like, you know, the Democratic Party logo, the donkey with the like a no sign on it said no socialism or whatever, you know, like I don't know if he's just like hearing stuff from, you know, people he works with or whatever, but
what do you think
what
do you think the big issue is? Is it like feminism? Is it race stuff? Is it like what's like is it like child, I guess you said like child trafficking or something like that, like yeah, he's like, you know, he's definitely like convinced that like, you know, all that stuff is real, and you know, I was hanging out with him like a while ago, like a month or so ago, and he was trying to tell me that he thinks like all of society is like run by aliens that are abducting children for like sexual reasons and stuff. Yeah, like absolutely insane shit, right? Eesh.
And it's like he's a really good guy, you know, and he and I have been friends for a long time, and he's been, you know, he's been there for me in tough times. I've been there for him in tough times, and you know, I don't want to just like end the friendship, right? Because like we're pretty close, but
it's
like it's just.
I mean, all I could say is like, it'd be like, hey, look, I there are certain things that maybe our concerns overlap, but I think you are going to the wrong source for certain things. I'd reference something like QAnon Anonymous, or which actually that name probably won't react well with them.
IMers are recommending TrueAnon. They say it's the antidote. I don't have experience with it.
It's a great show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Embrace is very funny too. So.
I might have to look into that.
Fart Wayne makes the point, though, if you're getting into QAnon this late in the game, I think you're pretty toast. RIP to the caller's buddy. I mean, I think, I think, you know, introducing him to this stuff, but I would also say, like, I don't know if the best, I mean, you listening to TrueAnon may be helpful so that you can sort of like refute some of this stuff, and maybe there's some stuff to point out. But I also think that like at the end of the day, there, you know, that's going to be helpful. But the real answer is more to change the incentive structure, because there's some reason why he needs to believe this stuff. And it is not, a lot of times it's like, it's almost, I mean, there's a, you know, look, if you've come out of a religious fundamental background, okay, and you were grown up that way, there is a dynamic, I think, that is not terribly dissimilar from, what they call a dry drunk. I don't know if that's the appropriate term anymore, but it's like that structure that you grew up with provided you something or created a need for something in your life that, you will go through life and you'll be looking for that, something to replace that. That's why QAnon has so much sort of like religious structures to it in many respects, because it fits right in. I mean, even in the context of like conversion, I did some work years and years ago in college on studying like, converts, and, the converts that came from Catholicism that went to Judaism, for instance, became really focused on the ritual and the sort of the doctrinal stuff of Judaism in a way that even Jews don't necessarily do, because you get set up to look for that. So I would also like maybe approach the incentive structure, and rather than try and refute these things as much, although that can come in handy, also say, this belief structure is really disempowering. Because, when you're a fundamentalist and you're doing what the religion tells you to do, you're at least going to get a reward, right? And it may come in the afterlife, and it may be that you get to stay with your family in eternity or whatever it is. This Q stuff, the only sort of like reward that comes with it is I have the secret knowledge. Like I am empowered by having this secret knowledge, even though like it really doesn't empower you. That's the thing, is I think
it actually disempowers you.
That's the point.
Totally.
It disempowers you. So like, I think like the point is, I think to keep reiterating, what's the value of this knowledge? Like, what is it that you think you're going to do with this knowledge? If it is the case that our world is run by lizard people, and they're just doing it to sort of like, whatever it is, to take the bodily fluids of children and, to generate their power supply or whatever it is, like, what's the value of this knowledge? Like, how is it practical? And I would start to turn the conversation into, this is how the non-lizard people who do control our society, very, very wealthy people and powerful people, this is how they disempower you. They give you a story that will lead you to do nothing. All it does is keep you following the story. It is, it's like, it's just a pastime, and they take your energy that, and they funnel it into it. And I would focus on that sort of dynamic. Like, what is the incentive structure? The incentive structure for this guy to believe in it is so that he feels empowered by knowing something that other people don't. But I would focus on you're being disempowered by being, I think that's probably the best thing I can tell you to do. It's a hard road.
It is.
It's all socially determined too. Like, I think when you pointed out he's with his the garage buddies, I really think part of this is just community, and people fall into it. Like with flat Earth stuff, to me, it's like it's never interesting to look at why they think the Earth is flat. It's way more revealing if you look at these people want to have a community that they can go to every evening and talk to.
Well,
right. What does that belief structure like provide for them?
Right. Right. Well, a person that I'm close to, right, I got into Jordan Peterson for a little, even though they have left-leaning proclivities, and it was because they were feeling lonely, and their social circle was kind of providing them with some easy answers to sort of empower yourself. When Sam says that thing about religious fundamentalism, that's like what it doesn't even need to be QAnon, right? I think there's a lot of conspiracy theories that fit into that. And your friend may balk at the notion that they're a part of QAnon, right? I mean, Totally. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime I've brought it up with him, that is kind of how he defends it.
Right.
Is that he's like, oh, no, it's not like that.
So going to TrueAnon.
Exactly what they said.
Right. So going to TrueAnon would be like, maybe too confrontational, because they believe a lot of these new, post QAnon people believe all the Q things, but it's just not, they're not calling it QAnon. So maybe just approach it from that angle. And it's tough though. I feel for you. I'm sorry about that.
No, I appreciate it. It's I think that's really good, framing, and you guys have given me a lot to think about. So I'll put some thought into that. One quick question. I got one quick question before I go, Sam. Kendrick or Drake?
Excuse me?
Kendrick or Drake?
You gotta pick one.
Oh, yes.
You gotta pick one.
I'm in favor of everybody. I say let 1,000 flowers bloom. I really
look at Joe Lieberman over here sitting in the center.
Look. I think I think this probably goes without saying, but I had to Google both of them when I saw this popping up, that there was a fight. Like, I've heard of both of their names, but I recently found out that Drake is Canadian, and therefore I'm a little suspicious.
A little bit of Crowder vibes on that.
Oh, yeah. So also child actor. Also child actor.
That I was not aware of. But yes, I think, but your point is well taken, that I had absolutely no way to answer that question. So I appreciate the call.
Thanks. You guys rock.
All right, bye-bye.
That's my theory about Aaron Rodgers, too. I've been saying that, not to, again,
He's Canadian?
Religious fundamentals upbringing, now a conspiracy theorist. There's a lot of that.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.